Hey Kelly, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
It's a pleasure to see you again.
You as well?
It's been about 2 weeks since we started working together and filmed those first 2 videos. And I guess the first thing that I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on how those videos turned out and also the response that they got?
Well, the videos look great. And of course, I went through the comments, the support, like the Merry Christmas shout outs and the good lucks and the support from your viewers was overwhelming and very humbling, and I really appreciate it.
Obviously, there were some people who had some negative things to say as well. That's to be expected being on the internet. You are going to have the good with the bad. And like I told you, I felt like it was going to be an overwhelming response of positivity, which it seemed like it was, of course, mixed in with people who had their own opinions that weren't so positive.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this on camera. I asked you this after the phone call that we had after we aired, I believe, either the first or the second video with you. And that was, do you have any regrets about getting in front of this camera, opening up and sharing about your experience?
Not regrets, no. But like I said, I did read the comments, and like you said, some of them were negative. But it was what I expected. I actually expected a lot worse. But no, I don't have any regrets for it because, it's called the After Prison Show, and it's supposed to be about what your life was like after prison, not the what did you do to get into prison show. So the comments or the questions about what's the story, I expected those. But no, I don't have any regrets.
Well, bringing up the whole what's the story, I want to talk about that just a little bit. You don't want to share about the actual incident.
No.
And in fact, in the first video that we filmed, you said that people can look you up and, they can read about what took place with that incident. I got to imagine that that's a pretty traumatic situation for you. I'm not asking you to share about it because you don't want to share about it. Of course, there are people on the internet who feel like you should share about it, but people are going to have their opinions, people are going to have their views, and you're entitled. I mean, this is you. You can do whatever you want to do, and I don't ever want to put you in a situation and make you feel like you have to do something that you don't want to do. And if you don't want to share about it, that's it. You did 30 years in prison for a murder charge. It's on the internet. People have been able to read about that, and that's the end of the story in terms of where we're going to go with that.
Can I address that a little bit, though?
Yeah.
Just a little bit?
Please.
Okay. So my reasons for not sharing the story are, number one, I feel like it would make me look like I'm trying to make it out like I didn't do anything wrong, or, I'm afraid. Not that I'm afraid, but the comments will be, she's lying because she's not showing enough remorse, or she's lying because she's showing too much remorse, or she's trying to make herself out to be the victim when she's not the victim. And people, like I said, people are going to form their own opinions. You said it, I said it, everybody has said it. But the justice system is supposed to be based on rehabilitation. And after 30 years, if I hadn't have been rehabilitated, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you right now.
Well, I appreciate you elaborating on that and sharing your views as to why you don't want to share about the story. I do want to say, I guess, one more thing in relation to that, and I'm not trying to make this all about that.
Okay.
So forgive me for this. You said that people can read about you on the internet.
Yes.
So all I read in terms of your story was what I shared in the video. I would actually learn a lot more about your story from things that people posted in the comments when they went and looked you up. And to me, what's posted on the internet is, the situation about the schoolmate, the car, he came over, and it was the boyfriend at the time who took it to the level that it was taken to, where he lost his life. You don't have to say anything in response to that. I'm just saying that's what I read on the internet. But I do want to ask one other thing about that, because this is an interesting thing that was posed in the comments. Where's that guy? Is he still in prison?
Yeah, he is.
How much time?
The law that applied to me didn't apply to him because he was 18.
And he got a life sentence for it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, forgive me for that. I just wanted to address any potential elephants in the room as far as we are willing to take that. Moving on, Kelly, 30 years in prison. You've only been home since February, and you just got the opportunity to celebrate your first Christmas after 3 decades in prison. What was that experience like?
It was fabulous. It was just great. It was so nice just to be with family, and it was just so nice to be reunited with my family after so long.
You know, I imagine 30 Christmases in prison, roughly. You probably pictured how a Christmas free would be like. Did it live up to any of those expectations? I'm sure it probably exceeded them.
Yeah, it surpassed my expectations. It really did. It was great. We played games, we talked, we exchanged presents, we ate really well. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Let's talk a little bit about what Christmas in prison was like for you, given the fact that you spent probably close to 30 of them in there. You know, what was a normal Christmas like for you in prison?
Well, you know, it was one of the few times a year that they fed us really well. So we would all, you know, get dressed up and head to the chow hall and have a decent meal. And we would organize little events, like we would do a white elephant type gift exchange. The prison would supply us with papers, like colored paper and stuff like that, where we would have like a decorating contest. You would pick a theme and then you would decorate the entire wing. And then whatever wing or pod won would get like a little bit of a prize, like a free picture ticket, or, you know, actually it was usually just free picture tickets. So we would watch football. We would, you know, spend time with the people that we were closest to, and just make the most of a really sad situation.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I hear you talking about getting dressed up and white elephant exchange parties and construction paper.
Yeah.
Women's prison is nothing like men's prison.
Nothing like men's prisons.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm actually ready to file a lawsuit. That's sexist as hell right there, that y'all got all those liberties and dudes ain't getting nothing.
Yeah.
Got an extra hot dog tray for real. But I'm just cracking some jokes
Yeah,
here.
no, that's fine.
It's awesome that you got the opportunity to spend your first Christmas out here. A lot of everything that you deal with on a daily basis probably is a lot of first after so long. And the holidays certainly have to be a big one for you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. Let me get more serious here for a moment. I say that women's prison is nothing like what men's prison is, and there's a lot of truth in that. You know, in men's prison during the holidays, it can often be a time when tensions are a lot higher. More fights can occur during the holidays. Is it like that in women's prison?
It is. But with women, they tend to argue more than they tend to physically fight. But that did start, like, the physical altercations did start picking up in the past few years. And I'm not really sure what triggered that. I really don't. Maybe it's just because it was just a younger generation coming in. I'm not really sure.
Bouncing around, I want to get to the point of this, and I want to pose a topic to you in relation to the time that you served in prison and get you to talk about this. This is a question that I ask pretty much everybody that I feature here, and that is, I want to hear a little of the crazier experiences that you had while in prison. And I'm sure there's probably 1,000 things that come to mind. Maybe there's one thing that stands out more than anything, but let me ask you it like this first. What do you think is one of the craziest things that you experienced while you were in prison?
So one of the craziest things I experienced was so at one point in time in Fluvanna, they were housing federal inmates. This was a while ago. So it was federal inmates that were, I guess, contracted out to Fluvanna, and it was either the federal inmates or it was the Iowan inmates. They also had contracted out people that were incarcerated in Iowa. But they had brought them to the prison and like had them separated from us. Well, as time went on, they started letting us interact with each other. There was one particular day during dinner where there was a fight in the chow hall between one of the federal girls and one of the state girls, and it turned into everybody's friends were jumping in and they called it, a riot. And it was crazy because like the assistant warden was opening the door trying to empty the chow hall, and she was screaming, "Don't worry about your friends, save yourselves." There was food flying everywhere. Like it was probably the worst one that I was witness to. I mean, there were other really bad fights that I wasn't witness to, but I did actually experience that. They ended up locking the institution down for like 10 days while they tried to sort the whole thing out. They had ran out of room in SEG to put people in lockup, so they started putting them in, there was a mental health section where the people that had the worst mental health disabilities were housed, and it was a secure area, so they had to start putting people over there. It was crazy. It was crazy. And it all boiled down to one girlfriend cheating on another girlfriend, and it exploded into this huge riot.
Yeah, there's so much that we can talk about in relation to that. Mm-hmm. And hopefully I'm going to be able to hit on all of these points. Mm-hmm. Let me start with this big riot jumps off in the chow hall. How many people are in this chow hall at the time, do you imagine? Hundreds?
No, not hundreds. It's not that big. Maybe 60 or 70.
So you've got, a large group of people, mm-hmm. maybe a majority of them fighting, or was it just a small?
It was a small group that was fighting, but it was such a contained area that like the chaos that ensued just made it look like it was bigger than it was. Like there was one girl that was working in the kitchen whose best friend was in the fight, and so she like came through the dish room window to get in the fight, and it was just like, and they didn't have the officers to like contain it, because when they serve chow, it's usually one officer on the yard that's calling chow and then 2 in each dining room. So if you have 60 people in a dining room and say 10 of them are fighting, those 2 officers wouldn't be able to handle that. So
you've got this group that's fighting in here. Uh-huh. What are you doing during this situation? Just trying to stay out of the way? Or are you trying to?
Yeah, I'm staying out of the way and I'm trying to get out of there.
But still, you end up getting locked down too, because everybody's got to pay the price at that point until they get it figured out. Mm-hmm. I want to talk too about what you had mentioned. You said that this stemmed from a relationship, a girlfriend cheating on a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. In men's prison, the homosexuality is there, but it is still relatively taboo. Mm-hmm. In women's prison, and forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but it seems like it's more of a common occurrence.
It's very common. It's very common. And it becomes like the basis of your prison experience, like your existence. Like you revolve your whole life around this relationship. Like you go to the rec yard just to see them. You go to the chow hall just to see them. You go to school just to see them. Like it's the unhealthiest version of codependency that you can even imagine. And it's rampant in there. It's the most important thing to everybody.
Forgive me for what I'm about to say, but you say that. To me, it sounds like like a high school, basically.
It is.
Did you have any girlfriends or relationships while you were in there?
Absolutely.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How was that for you? And I guess I'm trying to ask this the most professional way. Oh, God, man. Where you want me to take this? All right, let's not make this one of them penthouse stories here. But, you know, you had some long-term relationships where they just, did you have a lot of relationships?
I did.
I mean, 30 years in prison, I got to imagine.
Yeah.
Did you ever, do you think that had you never gone to prison, you would have ever had a relationship with a woman?
No, I don't think so. I think it was, so being a woman in prison, like, women thrive on emotion, you know, like, they're, not their entire existence, but like, we're emotional creatures as opposed to men who are more logical creatures. Like, they do things, men tend to do things based on unemotion, when women, like, thrive on companionship, and they thrive on affection, and they thrive on, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, being, I can't think of the word, but it'll come to me eventually. But just being accepted and desired. And when you're that young in that situation for that long, you know, and not everybody does it. It's not everybody that does it. But the majority of the people do, like, succumb to their circumstances and, you know, get involved with women, you know. I mean, they get involved with women, they get involved with staff members, they just feed that inner desire to have somebody attracted to you.
To be loved.
To be loved, exactly.
Yeah. You know, women are more emotional creatures, I believe. Forgive me for the way that I'm about to say this, but, you know, in men's, well, I don't even want to say in men's, it's just a way that I refer to it and a way that some people do refer to it, and it may even come across a little bit, maybe even derogatory or offensive, and I don't mean it that way, but Kelly, you were gay for the stay.
Absolutely, I was gay for the stay.
Yeah. And I don't say that to be funny. It's just the fact of what it was. I mean, you didn't ever think you were coming home.
No.
Let me ask this.
I didn't.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. No, you're fine.
People tell me I always interrupt people, and now that's going to bother me for the rest of the day. I was doing so good. Let's talk about the male staff in a women's prison. You hear about this all the time. I wanted to use a big word right there, and I can't think of what it was. But anyways, the fraternizing, there it is. Is there a lot of male correctional officers and staff members in a women's prison?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like some of these guys just work there because maybe it's a fantasy, like, oh my God, like, I mean,
it could be, you know. I've never, like, had a conversation with one where they said, you know, it's been my fantasy to find somebody that I can hook up with, that I don't have to worry about coming by my house and, you know, stalking my wife or anything like that. Like, they've never said that, but it's kind of like something that you think about deep down inside.
Is it uncomfortable having, you know, a large number of male officers and staff in a women's prison?
For some people it is.
I'm sure some of the officers even make it that way.
Yes, they do.
You know, during the time that you were incarcerated, I'm sure you could share with us times when officers were fired or investigated for misconduct. Are there any memorable moments that stand out to you in relation to something like that?
We had a major go to jail. One of our majors.
That's a high-ranking officer.
It's a very high-ranking officer.
He almost runs the institution, doesn't he?
Practically.
He went to jail?
I believe he did, yeah. I know he got arrested. He was making moves in the prison, like moving women with their girlfriends for payment. And this is not like, none of this is secret. Like, we've had lieutenants go to jail. We've had regular officers go to jail or get arrested or be accused or, yeah. And it usually all ends up coming, that whole everything that happens in the dark comes out in the light. And it usually comes out because women run on emotion. And so when you would see somebody talking to somebody that you think belongs to you, then you would react to it, or you would tell the wrong person what was going on because you thought that they were your friend, and then they would spread it all over the institution because women gossip, and it would cause repercussions and people would get in trouble. And also this is something else that your viewers can Google if they just look up like Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women. A lot of this is in the news, the kind of corruption that goes on there all the time.
What is Fluvanna? I mean, obviously I know it's a women's prison, but in the men's prisons, you've got level 1 through 5 in the state of Virginia. In terms of custody level, what is Fluvanna? Is that
It's a multi-custody level because they don't have like a Red Onion or a Wallens Ridge or a Greensville. They only have Virginia Correctional Center for Women, which is a lower custody. They have Fluvanna, which is multi-custody, but mostly people with the higher custody levels. And I think there's one other one. I think it's called Pocahontas, but it's not in Pocahontas.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know that there were that little. It sounds like 2 or 3 women's prisons in the state of Virginia.
It's not many.
Wow. How long were you at Fluvanna for?
From the day that it opened until February of this year.
What day did it open?
April of 1997 or 8, one of those 2 years.
So you spent your entire incarceration damn near there.
Yeah.
Was it a decent prison? I mean, it kind of sounds like it with how the holidays were.
I mean, yeah, it actually was. Oh, the comments. It wasn't really like prison. It was more, like you said, like high school. I mean, of course, we all knew that we were in prison, but it was like I can't even explain it, but it didn't, like what you see on TV or what you hear about what goes on in men's prisons, it's not how it happens in women's prisons. I mean, there's, of course, mistreatment, and there's officers that throw their rank around or throw their weight around. There's like women that are just like natural bullies or natural, leaders that can affect how well or how horrible your prison experience is. But for the most part, because you hear stories about men's prisons, like when the holidays come and they're short-staffed, so they have to be locked down for like 12 hours a day or 6 hours a day because they don't have enough staff, and then they spend in the holidays locked in their room. Like when the women's prison is short-staffed, we just don't get rec, or they deliver our meals to us instead of letting us go to the chow hall, but they don't ever just like put us in our rooms. But I think that the big difference there is that we don't have wet cells. We don't have rooms that have our toilet in it. We have bathrooms outside of our cells.
Hold on, what you mean? Y'all got bathrooms?
Yeah, we got bathroom stalls.
Shit. That joint sound like a Holiday Inn, man. Look, I wanted the premise of this to be about your craziest prison experiences, and you've shared a little bit of that with us here, and it's probably seeming like I'm focusing more on the love and the relationships inside of prison, but I've got more questions about that right this second, so I want to continue with that. Mm-hmm. I was talking about the officers and the fact that there's a lot of male officers there. Were there any relationships that you had with any male officers, or if not, was there officers that were trying to get with you, so to speak? Oh, you can say no comment if you don't want to go there.
I think that tells the whole story.
Damn, Kelly, you was putting in work up there. Good for you.
Thank you.
Making the most of your time.
Thank you.
Who would have thought doing a life sentence could be, I mean, and I hate the way, I don't want to take away from the seriousness of the fact that you were doing a life sentence. So let that just resonate for the viewers over everything. Mm-hmm. You're doing life. You're not expecting to ever go home. Hey, you're making the most of it. And it is what it is. I'll move on from that. So let's talk about some prison myths.
Yeah, let's do it. I love these things.
Oh, God, for the men, thinking about the women's prisons.
Yeah.
People already know what question I'm getting ready to ask you, so might as well go with the most cliche question we can ask.
Yeah.
Did they cut y'all's hot dogs up?
They did not, and they sold us pickles on commissary, full pickles on commissary.
I bet those things serve multiple purposes, but we don't.
No, actually not. No, not for what everybody's thinking. Hot dogs and pickles were not the way to go.
So that brings me to a really good point right here. Kelly, you want to go viral? Hey, I did a video one time on how to make a fifi. I'm sure you've heard.
I know what a fifi is.
I'm sure the women have an equivalent method.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into detail about what that is, but is that a thing? Is there such a thing as a women's fifi?
There is a strap. Yeah, you can make a strap.
I'm giggling like a little freaking teenager, right? That's just hilarious to me. I'm sure the viewers are eating this shit up like, Joe's going in.
Okay, so here's what you do, all right?
Break it down for us.
They had these white cleaning cloths that were like paper towels, only better quality. Take 2 or 3 of those, roll them up really tight. Take sanitary pads. Like you take 3. You take 1, tear it in half, put it across the top. I can't believe I'm doing this with my hands. You take 2. Put them on the side, hold it all together, take a latex glove, pull the latex glove over top of it, tie it in a knot at the bottom, put another one just in case it breaks, tie that one up, take a bra, cut out the middle of the bra, put it in the bra, tie it to the bra with a ace bandage, step into the bra, hook it in the back. It's on and popping.
Holy moly.
There you go.
Kelly, thank you.
Yeah,
I've never
you're
had
welcome.
the opportunity to ask a woman who served time in prison about this. And, me and Buddy back here just sitting here giggling like little schoolgirls, right? Good stuff, though. And, it is it's what goes on in prison.
It is what goes on in prison.
In women's prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure y'all had shakedowns.
Yes.
Just like what takes place in men's prison.
Yeah.
What do the guards do when they find that? Is that a charge?
So with a lockdown first of all, once you use it, I don't know why you're going to hang on to it because that's just gross.
Oh, it's a one and done.
It's a one and done. That's it. It's a one and done. Second of all, when Fluvanna gets locked down, we already know that it's coming. Our JPay kiosks go off, the phones hang up, everybody that's out at work gets sent back to the building, and then they make this huge announcement that the institution is now on lockdown, but nobody comes in and makes us lock our doors. So once you get that announcement, you start getting rid of everything in your room that you don't want to get caught with. But the big difference is that the stuff that women have that's considered contraband is way less serious than what men have. Like we don't have shanks and we don't have, well, I mean, they do have drugs now, but the things that they would take from us would be, and I'm not like exaggerating here, metal tweezers, extra makeup, extra clothes, extra blankets, extra rolls of toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the things that they would take from us. Empty cardboard boxes that we made a trash can out of.
Well, that's kind of boring, to be honest. There's no real excitement with those type of things. It just seems very trivial, Men's prison, it's going to be knives and illicit material and, Did y'all get that?
Illicit
prison?
Material?
Yeah, like...
Oh, you mean like Playgirl and stuff like that?
Yeah, and forgive me for staying on this topic, but it is
fine.
so interesting, and I don't say any of this in a disrespectful manner, so forgive me for that. But in men's prison, one of my hustles was selling 4x6 photographs of, naked women. In women's prison, is X-rated material a thing?
Nope.
Really?
Really?
Because I guess maybe the relationships are so prevalent and
that, and we could go to the library and get romance novels.
that's all y'all need is just a yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, look, I'm going to get to a point where we can wrap this video up.
Yeah.
Kelly, I want to say thank you for being so willing to share about these things. I hope in no way did I make you feel uncomfortable about this.
No.
All right, great. So my next point is, hey, when it comes to me titling this video, I'm probably going to do so in a way that tries to draw in the most amount of viewerships.
Okay.
So I'll share with you whatever that title ends up being, but just want to forewarn you, it's probably going to be something pretty crazy.
Okay.
Women had to strap in prison.
God, yeah.
Gay for the stay.
Gay for the stay.
30 years, something along those lines. Seemed pretty hard hitting. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything that you want to say as I get ready to wrap this up with you?
No, but I really appreciate you asking me all of those questions because, like, the myths that come out of women's prison is so funny to me. Like, every time I hear about the hot dogs, I'm like, what are you going to do with a hot dog? Like, it just...
Good talk. Kelly, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Just to forewarn you, there's probably dudes watching this. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. All right. Hey, good talk. I look forward to sharing more with you. And we'll talk with you soon.
Okay. Sounds great.